Now, welcome everyone today to our franchise discovery webinar. And today we have on Amy Wood from the travel franchise. And as always, we have Jerry, who will be leading the way today. And I'll just be in the background, making sure everything's running smoothly. And if anyone has any questions, they can drop them in the bottom right-hand side, and I'll put them to Amy at the end. And until then, I'll send you over to Jerry. Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks very much, Keith, and very warm good morning to everybody, and especially to Amy. We've had a few chats in preparation for this, and I don't think you'll be going a long way to meet someone more enthusiastic about the benefits of working and having not just travel franchise. So, Amy, tell us a little bit about the whole process, how you got involved, and what is actually involved.
Okay, so I've always been really interested in travel, just generally. Love organising holidays for family and friends and things. So it's something that friends had always said to me, why don't you do this as a job? But I never really knew how to go about it, and sort of started delving into the whole, looking to set up on my own with ABTA and things like that. And it was just a bit of a minefield, to be honest. So it always put me off a little bit. And then during COVID, we managed to still travel a little bit. And obviously there was a lot of form filling, you've got to have vaccine requirements and making sure all the boxes were ticked to enter certain countries and things. And so when people did start traveling again, they were sort of coming to me for help anyway with that side of things. And so I sort of got to the point where I was thinking, why don't I just get paid for doing this when I'm doing it as a free service, really? So that prompted me to start looking further into it. And that was how I came across the travel franchise, and obviously watched their sort of introduction to everything, had a chat with Paul on the phone, and the rest is history, basically, yeah.
So the travel franchise, as you say, is the sort of holding company. And then when you become a franchisee, just so we're clear on this, it's not just travel. And I think one of the things which is important in that is it's not just travel. So you do a lot. It's not just saying, I'd like to go to, South America next May or whatever. Mm-hmm. So give us an idea of how personalized the service you can offer.
Exactly, yeah. You're right there, Jerry. It's not just travel, it's everything in between, really. So we offer a full personal service. Not all agents that join the franchise like to do that. Some people might like to let their customers do their own thing, but for me, that's what it's about, offering that personal service for no extra charge. So things like, checking their passports, making sure that they've got the correct validity on them. If they're going to a country that requires visas and things, I'll quite happily sit with the customer and go through that process with them to make sure they've got those visas and that everything's completed correctly. It's gathering all their advanced passenger information to put into the airlines and things to get them checked in for the flights. And then obviously whilst they're there as well, people don't want to be worrying if they're on a long haul journey about logging in to check in for their return flight or their connecting flight and things. So it's little things like that we'll do for them, just to sort of save them the hassle, really, and put their mind at rest. But also it's, if there is something that goes wrong, it's us that's at the end of the phone rather than sitting on the phone to one of the tour operators for perhaps an hour and a half in a queue to chat to somebody.
Well, you say they're little things, but they're the key things that make all the difference, because you're going on holiday and inevitably there can be ups and downs. Some things don't quite work out, but you have that continuing relationship with the people. You've helped organize their trips, and then obviously if something does happen, they can get back to you and say, Amy, can you help us out here?
Absolutely, yeah. They know that I am at the end of the phone, literally 24/7 if they need me, and that's the beauty of it. That a lot of these online companies now, if you've got a question or you want to make a minor change to your holiday, you've got to complete a web form that it might be something that's a 7 to 14 day response to get an answer on. Well, you haven't always got that time to wait for that response. People want answers instantly now, and that's the beauty of it, really, that I'm that person that they can pick up the phone to, rather than a call centre or an email box, something just that makes it more personal. Yeah.
And what about the level of training and support you got yourself when you actually joined a travel franchise? Because obviously you're very enthusiastic about what you do, but do you have the backup that allows you to be as proactive and as helpful to your clients as you can possibly be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I started with Not Just Travel, I'd got no prior experience within the travel industry. So it is quite a daunting process when you first join, and you have an intense 5 days training, and it's a heck of a lot to take in. It's like I say, very intense, lots of note taking, and taking pictures and different things to remind yourself. But what I will say is there's always somebody on hand if you need them. And we have business development managers that are, sort of at the end of a WhatsApp or an email if we need them day to day. But as our head office, we've got a live chat facility, again, a WhatsApp facility. The call wait times to speak to our guys in support at head office are, very minimal. So like if there's a query or you need something checking, then they're always on hand. But not only that, but within sort of a group of just the travel consultants within Not Just Travel, you get to become really good friends with each other. And although there's that sort of healthy competition, there's no sort of people being sort of bragging about, oh, I've done this, I've done that, or trying to make you feel inadequate. We're all a really great family, and so quite often we'll reach out to each other as well to ask questions and get help. I've got a lot of travel consultants that I quite often know that one might work with a particular supplier, or they might know something about a particular country, and so I'll just get on the phone and have a chat with them about it and say, where would you go with this? Or so it's really really nice.
You mentioned healthy competition, and that's what you would expect in any marketplace. How do you actually sort of stand out, if you like? And is it by word of mouth? I know they provide a personalized website and branding, so you can actually have your own niche within it.
Yeah.
But how do you actually begin to establish your own base of clients? Because the more clients you have, the more opportunities to earn commission.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing with that is my biggest sort of marketing really is word of mouth and repeat business. I think it's one of those, you do a good job for somebody, they're obviously going to recommend you to their friends and family or their neighbours or work colleagues, things like that. So, and then I think once somebody's tried you once and they see that they're getting this personal service for no extra charge, and you sort of they're getting the same holiday at no extra cost to what they could do it themselves for, they'll straight away it's like an added bonus for them, or it's the little touches that stand out. If it's somebody's birthday, and I'll always contact the hotel prior to them going for their stay and ask them to do something nice, whether it be champagne in the room or a cake or something, just with a little personal note from me. So it's those little touches that always stand out, and then that client wants that experience then the next time. So of course they're going to come back, and you obviously do get your sort of social media platforms that are great as well for posting different holiday offers and things. But I would say majority of mine is word of mouth and recommendation. And I think if people buy off people. So as long as you got that rapport with somebody, then, it's quite an easy way of getting them to come back for repeat custom.
And of course, you work with all of the major travel operators. How does that sort of relationship work? Because, if, for example, I decided I'd like to do a city break in Europe and maybe an EasyJet holiday or a BA weekend. So, I can go online and do that. But you're saying, no, come to someone like my good self, Amy, and I can make it a more special and more personalized experience.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we work with all the main tour operators. We've got over 400 suppliers that we work with. So 9 times out of 10, what you can find online yourself, we've got it. You know, we've got the flights, we've got the hotels. But for me, I go back to the scenario of it's a bit like when you're in the supermarket and you use the self checkout. It's great because you think, oh, this is really good idea. You know, let's go and do it myself. It's dead easy. 9 times out of 10, something always goes wrong and you have to ask for help and somebody has to come over, and it actually takes you longer than you originally anticipated. And so that's what I sort of refer it back to. It's great that you can do it yourself, but why would you have the hassle and stress when you can just drop me a message or an email or give me a call and say, this is what I'm looking for, these are the dates, this is what I want to spend, see what you can do, and I'll come back and I'll do all the sort of hard work for you with those personal touches and added extras for no extra cost. And like I say, I'm your point of contact without having to have that wait time on calls or waiting for email responses. And I think it's something like the average person spends about 8 hours looking for their holiday when they decide to go. And, you know, it's a lot of time when people are at work day in, day out to spend trawling the internet. When we're the experts, why not let us take the reins?
Now, what about the range of packages to potential franchisee offered by the travel franchise? Because there are different levels of entry and different cost packages. How does that work overall?
Yeah, so with the travel franchise, there's an entry level of the sort of basic package, which is a lower cost, but you are getting a minimal sort of package that is actually a higher monthly fee for their service, because you do pay a retainer every month for sort of head office to do all your background paperwork and things, which is a godsend. You know, we don't have to touch any of the paperwork. So that monthly retainer is actually higher if you take the light package. And you don't get some of the added benefits like the Millionaires Retreat or the Elite Experience and things, which are, you know, luxury trips away that, you know, sort of strengthen your knowledge of the travel industry enormously, really. So I actually joined on the light because I didn't know really whether it was just something I was going to do as a bit of a hobby on the side, or I didn't know whether it was for me joining on the higher package initially. But it became quite apparent very quickly that the Elite was going to be a better option for me, because there was a chance then to take on the money back challenge, which is where you actually get your franchise fee back if you hit a certain criteria of sales. And luckily I managed to do that. So I do always say to people, now I was, you know, sort of lucky to be able to upgrade to the Elite. I'm not sure whether it's a possibility that they offer that even now, but I always say to people, if you're looking to join, definitely just go in, you know, full steam ahead with the Elite and push for that money back challenge, because obviously it's definitely doable.
You mentioned there some of the overseas retreats, the training exercises, and actually if you go on the main website at present, there's a group of franchisees holders from the Entrepreneurs Club who are actually in Orlando at present. But you've done one of those as well. I know people say, oh, that, you know, what a perk, but it's a combination of getting to know the country, the resort, but also you're learning very much when you're actually in place.
Yeah, 100%. They're great to experience that particular destination that you're traveling to. And there is a lot of training and, you know, in-depth sort of viewing the hotels and different room types. And it's a lot to take in, you know, it's not all sort of sitting in the sunshine enjoying a cocktail. We do get a little bit of time to sort of have a chance to, you know, sit and relax sometimes, but they are quite full on. But it's great because you're just getting that knowledge and the confidence that then comes from knowing that destination or that resort that you've been to is massive. And I mean, I'm quite a sort of avid cruiser. I love cruising, and for me, I'd only ever really cruised on one cruise line because it was what I knew, that was my go-to. So part of the Not Just Travel cruise group that was created, we got to go on a cruise that was totally different to what I'd done before. And it just opened up my eyes. And straight away, whilst I was there, I was thinking, right, I've got a customer that would love this sort of thing. And so in your head, you're sort of thinking about who you know would like that particular style of cruising, and you're messaging them. And before you know it, I'd got bookings coming through for this particular cruise line that I'd never been on myself, let alone sent customers on. But it was just because I got the confidence then to talk about it to them and say, guys, you're going to love this because there's this and this. Whereas if you haven't been there, it's very hard to, you can Google as much as you like, but once you've had the actual experience in person, it makes it much easier to sell something. Yeah.
And in terms of the work-life balance, I mean, what are the key months? Normally we hear people say, and we see a lot of advertising in newspapers and online around Christmas time, or get your holidays booked for 2025. Mm-hmm. So are you expecting like the next 4 to 6 weeks to be really busy for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Black Friday obviously is great for the travel industry. We get some brilliant offers come through. So we seem to see a little bit of a peak there, but then it will drop off a little bit as it reaches Christmas, but then January is what we call peaks within the travel industry, and that's when it sort of kicks off really, and everybody just wants to get their summer holidays especially booked for that year. So we really see an influx in January of sales, and then I personally tend to find that April's a little bit busier for me than January. I seem to have an extra bit of sort of inquiries coming through the door and things, but I think it's just after Christmas people have paid the credit cards and things off and they're ready to get going again. So
are there any particular destinations, type of holidays which are becoming the go-to places that people are really talking about and looking forward to next year?
So cruising is definitely...
You're a big cruise fan.
Yeah, I am, so I do like to talk about cruising.
But cruises are popular.
It's definitely, it's the fastest growing sector within the travel industry. It's really, going places as such. And there's so many new ships coming out. And I think people had a perception of cruising of, it's for the older generation. It can be very formal, you've got to dress up every night. But it's totally changed now. It's very much family orientated, or there's a lot of adult only ships where it can be groups of friends, or there's mini cruises that can be like guys and girls groups, stag do's, hen do's, things like that. So definitely cruising has changed over the years, and it's one that's really, we're seeing a lot of people. There's only a very small percentage of the population that have ever cruised, so that it's a massive sort of percentage of people that are yet to try it. So that's great for us, because every time somebody comes to me with a land holiday inquiry, 9 times out of 10, I will say, have you thought about cruising? Unless they're really set against it for a medical purpose or something, I'll always try and convert them to a cruising holiday. And then once they've done one, that's it, then they're hooked. So cruising definitely, but also the long haul destinations are becoming so much more popular, because quite often you can get, a week in Mauritius for the same price, if not less, and you can get a week in Greece these days. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you have a good relationship with other franchise holders and that you help one another out, because obviously it's a big wide world. You can't be an expert in every part.
Yeah.
Are there particular corners of the world, you mentioned cruising, but are there particular corners of the world that you have personally experienced and that you are very strong on recommending to potential holidaymakers, saying, hey, have you thought about this? I've been there, or I know somebody who's been to this resort or this city or this town, and they really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, for me, Mauritius holds a really special place. So it's somewhere that we love to go. And actually, I managed to get on a trip with Not Just Travel couple of years ago that was amazing and sort of just reignited my love for Mauritius, really. And that's great because now I do try and point customers in that direction if they're looking for long, or instead of doing the Caribbean, I'll say, oh, have you thought about Mauritius? And it's quite nice because we got to experience quite a lot of places whilst we was there. So I sort of always send a list of recommendations. If when you get there, these are the places that I would go and try, and different bars, restaurants, things. And that's another sort of personal touch that I like to add. I always like to try and give my personal recommendations of places for people to go. But I'm also a really keen skier, so I love helping people with ski holidays because, again, that's a bit of a sort of niche area that some travel consultants that have never skied, obviously it's really hard to point people in the right direction of which is the best ski resort to go to, what's got the high altitude for certain times of the year and things like that. So that's definitely something that I'm really keen on, and I like to sort of advise people. Yeah.
You say you're a good skier, but how often have you had phone calls from clients who've fallen on the beach and say suddenly I'm in hospital in Austria?
Oh no, touch wood, none yet, thankfully.
Yeah,
I think skiing is one of those ones as well where you kind of, even I've never went, but I've went to book it a few times, and it's always kind of like, how do I bring all that gear over? How do I get from the airport to that place? And there is a lot to think about when you're going skiing, because ski passes, rentals, whatever. There is a lot to think about. So I think with someone like yourself, it's better off not having to do it yourself.
Definitely, yeah. It is. It's quite a stressful process thinking, oh, how do I piece all this in? But again, that's what I'm here for. We can do that as a whole package. We organise all your hire, your ski passes, everything. So it's all done. And again, cruising is a bit like that because the cabin setups on some of these ships, there's so many different cabin types. People go into a bit of a breakdown when they look at it, they get so confused. Oh, I don't know which one to pick and where's best on the ship. And so again, it's good to speak to an expert that knows what they're talking about with cruise, because it can be a bit of a minefield.
And given your overall experience with the travel franchise, as I said at the beginning, you're a great positive enthusiast for it. What's the things that have surprised you about working in the industry? Obviously, you're bringing joy to people by making sure that the holidays go as best as they possibly can. But from your own point of view, working, a few years into the industry now, what do you enjoy most about it? And sometimes, there must be times when you get called from people and say, oh, just try and sort yourself out, or, you're on call a lot. That's what I'm really trying to get to. And I know you see that as part of the service you want to offer, but it does mean a bit of a time commitment.
Definitely, yeah. It can be hard, and especially when you're sort of trying to think about having perhaps your own holiday and you want to just sit and relax for a couple of weeks without the phone calls and things. But you have really got to have your phone on hand all the time just in case. But it's not bad at all. It's what I love about it is I can literally do this job from anywhere in the world. As long as I've got my laptop and my phone with me, I can sit on a beach in Mauritius doing bookings, without any problems at all. And that is a real plus for me, because I can, if I want to take a few days off, as long as I've got my phone on me for any emergencies, I can do. And that's really like what I wanted from going into the travel franchise, and not just travel, was to be my own boss, do what I want when I want. And so that has 100% worked for me. It's exceeded that, actually, because like I mentioned initially, I thought perhaps I was going to do this as a little bit of a hobby. I worked for my husband at the time doing the admin accounts, and so for me to be able to do this full time has just been an absolute, dream come true, really. And yeah, it can have its sort of, stressful moments where you might have a phone call, somebody's flight's been cancelled, or there's been a change to something, but you just have to remain sort of calm and, reassure the customer that don't worry, that's what I'm here for. Let me get on the phone and get this sorted. And, all the tour operators have got emergency contact numbers that we can reach out to. And, luckily I've never had something go drastically wrong that's caused major issues. It's always been a case of a couple of phone calls, right, you're back on another flight, and that's it.
And from your own point of view as a franchisee holder yourself, you did mention how reassuring it is to have that continuous support and backup from the Travel Franchise HQ, because you need help as well. So that back office stuff is vital just to make your job easier on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. The head office, like I say, I'm so glad really that, we pay that retainer fee, but it is worth its weight in gold, because literally every piece of paperwork that comes through from the tour operator, whether it be somebody's got a new flight time or they're, sort of hotel is having a refurb and they send a letter out to update the customer, that is all dealt with via our head office. We do not get involved in that. We make the bookings, load them into the system, and apart from then our personal service directly with the customer for checking in and things like that, that is our job is to create the holidays, and they do the sort of admin side behind the scenes. So yeah, it's definitely worth its weight in gold with all the guys looking after that, because I genuinely don't think I'd have time to sell holidays if I had to do all of that as well.
But Amy, what you have had time to do is put up a very nice Christmas tree behind you, which Keith and myself have been shamed into. Have you had a lot of bookings for people going on short Christmas breaks, be it to Christmas markets or just getting ready for Christmas itself? Is that something which has kept you fairly busy over the last few weeks?
Yeah, definitely. We do seem to see a flurry of that just before Christmas, and especially with a lot of the Black Friday offers, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
There's some really great deals that are normally, for an example, I booked to go myself to Krakow on Monday just for a couple of nights, and it worked out actually probably cheaper for us to do that than it would to go into our closest town, Birmingham, for a night there for drinking and eating and staying overnight. We've got 2 nights in Krakow with our flights and everything. So yeah, definitely there's some great offers to be had, and it's a great chance to go and see the Christmas markets, or even again, like I mentioned, the mini cruises and things. They do some lovely ones that have got the Christmas markets included. So yeah, it's a perfect opportunity to, and also people like to get away over Christmas nowadays. It's a really sort of busy time. They just want to get that winter sun, so whether it be Canaries or Caribbean, something like that, it's a popular time. Yeah.
And I suspect, having done your research, as you will have done on Krakow, you'll be recommending that probably to a few people when they contact you over the next
100%. Yeah, it's been on my radar for a while, so yeah, really looking forward to it.
So listen, what else then, just to sum up the whole experience? I mean, obviously, as I say, it's worked out very well for you, but you've put in the hours, you have that personability, which is very important. You do your homework, you have the reassurance, and they seem to be, pretty important qualities that anybody wanting to go into the travel industry. It is a service industry, and you've got to be acknowledge that you're providing a service to people, and you want to provide the best possible one.
Yeah, it's don't get me wrong, it is hard work. It can be long hours. Don't go into this half-hearted thinking, well, I suppose a bit like me, thinking this could be a bit of a hobby. If you just want it as a hobby, great, that is doable. But for me, if you do want to change your career, and I wasn't happy doing the job that I was doing. I found it quite boring, really. So this was always something I really wanted to do. So then when it became an opportunity, I just sort of took the bull by the horns and went all in, and I'm so glad I did. It's really changed my life, for the better, and I just love what I do. Yes, it can be long hours and it can be quite hard work, like you say, researching different things that the customer wants and making sure it's exactly what they want. But ultimately, it gives me the flexibility and the freedom and the earnings that I never thought I'd have from a job that I love so much. So yeah, definitely.
And the travel franchise at present, looking at their website again, there's several hundred franchisee holders, but obviously they're expanding because they think the travel market is continuing to expand, so there's plenty of business for everybody.
Yeah, again, sometimes you look and you think, oh gosh, like there's so many different travel agents on some of the social media platforms and things. How on earth can we compete? But there's so many people want to travel, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So absolutely, there's enough work to go around, and as long as you provide that service that's personal and you're giving that customer something a little extra, then they'll keep coming back to you. So the way I look at it is I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, really, and hopefully the business will just keep growing.
I would just say I want to touch on the last point you said there. Like, it's clear that you're really passionate about travel in general. Would you say that, like, if someone was to go in and be a franchisee with a travel franchise, that you would have to have a passion for travel, because you are constantly looking up things probably, and I imagine your day is not 9 to 5 stop. I imagine you're bit here, there.
Yeah.
You're looking up different things. Like, I feel like you need to have a passion for.
Yeah, you're right,
in
Keith.
general to do it.
It's not something I would probably recommend doing if you're not interested
just
in
a job,
traveling,
not
or
just
you're
a
not
job,
interested in holidays. I mean, for me, that was like sort of a bit of a joke with our friends. They called me Judith Chalmers because we was always on holiday. It was what we loved. So for me, it was a very fitting job. It was always something I wanted to do. So yeah, if it's not really for you and you just think, you know what, I want to change.
It's not just a job. I don't think
you do need to have that bit of enthusiasm about travelling and love holidaying, because obviously part and parcel with the travel franchise and not just travel is you do travel a lot. I'm away a lot of the time throughout the year. So if you're not really into travelling, then obviously that's not going to appeal to you. So yeah, definitely, I would say you've got to have that enthusiasm and passion for travel, and definitely be willing to sort of split your hours and things. Like I never get 2 days the same. I might work a couple of hours in the morning, and then I might have the rest of the day off. But then 6 o'clock, when everyone's back home from work, you get people messaging you or calling you. Then can you just have a look at I think it was about 10:30 last night. I was doing a booking online from a neighbour who just messaged me out the blue. So yeah.
And is there any particular country or even continent that you have in your list of places that I really like to go to over the next 2 or 3 years, say?
I do, yeah. So for me, Canada is absolutely on the bucket list. I really want to do the Rocky Mountaineer, which is the train that goes through the Rocky Mountains, and then pick up the Alaska cruise. And do that, so that's definitely on the list. And Japan is also somewhere that I really fancy.
I'm going to Japan in April.
Oh,
you're going? Oh, right.
Yeah. So my girlfriend's
Canada.
Actually...
My brother lives in Canada, just so that we say, and it is a wonderful country. It's a very big country.
Yeah,
I know some people who've gone to Japan, and they really rave about it as well.
Yeah. So my partner actually reminds me of you a lot. She also gets family constantly asking her to book holidays.
Oh, okay.
Always book things, and we always have a holiday planned, and she will have everything lined up, restaurants, everything. And I always say to her as well that she should be doing something like this as well.
Yeah,
I must get her to tune into this after on the replay. But so we're going to Japan in April. So that was top of my bucket list. So
amazing, yeah.
Well, send a note back, or get your partner to send a note back to Amy, because she
you know where I am, Keith. If you need anything,
I'll give you all her Excel files with all her notes.
Yeah.
All right, listen, Amy. I know you've got a busy day ahead of you. So, is there any final point you'd like to wrap up with? Because we've covered quite a lot of ground, and there's no doubt you've really embraced the whole idea of being a not just travel franchisee holder.
Mm-hmm. Well, all I'd say is if, there's people thinking of doing this, or, a bit on the fence with it, a bit like how I wasn't quite sure if it was, the path that I should take, because there's so many different companies out there as well. That's the other thing to think about. There's a lot of different companies. So for me, I would 100% dive in, head first, and just bite the bullet and do it. If you've got that passion for travel, just do it, because like I say, it's changed my life. I never thought I would be doing a job that I love this much. It's that saying is, do a job that you love and you'll never work a day again. And that's sort of how I feel, really, because it's such a great job to have, very flexible. And the earnings can be amazing if you put the time and effort in.
Amy, thanks very much. It was lovely to talk to you. I'm going to hand over to Keith just to remind everybody in terms of the further details to follow up from this morning's conversation. Keith.
Yeah, so thanks everyone, and thank you very much, Amy, and thank you, Jerry. And I know we had to cancel last week because I was sick, so I also apologize to that for anyone who had to hang on for this. But yeah, I thought that was brilliant, and it's clear that like you have such passion for travel as well. So I think that is important in a role with the travel franchise as well. But thanks everyone for coming on today, and anyone who's on live, they'll get sent out a link to they can inquire the travel franchise, and the replay will be there as well. And yeah, if anyone has any further questions that we didn't get to ask today, you can get in contact with the guys, and I'm sure they'll be happy to let you know. So thank you very much, and good morning to everyone, and we'll leave it there. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye. Thanks
Bye-bye.
again.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.